In my opinion, one of the most essential tools for the budding, the aspiring, or the professional retoucher is a Wacom tablet. And a Wacom tablet allows you to paint in adjustments with pressure sensitivity. And you can use this pressure sensitivity to control size of your brush or the overall intensity of the effect. And here in this movie, I simply want to show you a little bit about how you can work with some of these new features in Photoshop CS5, which allow you to a little bit more quickly and easily take advantage of using a Wacom tablet. So think of this movie as a bit of a demo. Well, for starters, I'm going to go ahead and click on the new layer icon, and I'll go ahead and name this new layer Demo. Next, I'll press the B key to select my brush tool. Well, here you can see I'm painting with a soft edge brush, no hardness there. Here's my brush size, no blending mode, high opacity, high flow. So if I go ahead and paint across the image, we can see that we'll just make a pretty harsh brush stroke, although it does have some soft edges. Well, there are two new icons in Photoshop CS5. This one here, which actually allows us to control the overall opacity of what we're adding, even without changing this. So if I click on this option and then go ahead and paint, and I paint subtly here, you can see that the brush stroke is much more dim. If I paint harder, I can then slowly build that up. So I have control over how quickly I'm adding this effect. Well, what about this option here? This one has to do with brush size. So again, if I go ahead and press lightly, I have a small brush, press harder, and then there you can see the brush gets bigger and bigger. In this way, I can really control how this is painted in. You can see I can kind of build this up in some pretty interesting ways. So the difference between this and these options are paramount. Well, how would this actually work in a real scenario? Well, in a real scenario, let's go ahead and delete this layer and create a new layer and name this new layer Burn. Next, we'll take this layer to a blending mode of Soft Light. Now, the intent here isn't to teach you a technique, but to rather demo you an example of using a brush with pressure sensitivity. So with this layer on Soft Light, I'll grab my brush, and I'm going to paint with black here. What I'll do is lower my opacity because I don't want it to be too high, even with the pressure sensitivity and size turned on. I'll go ahead and just paint over an area. And let's say that what I want to do is bring out a shadow. In this case, I'm just going to darken up this shadow here. Or if I want to darken up this highlight here on the forehead, I can slowly and subtly paint across this area. Now this is a pretty subtle adjustment, so I'll go ahead and add a few more just so we can see how this can start to work. And again, the intent here isn't to teach what I'm doing, but it's to begin to show you how you can start to take advantage of pressure sensitivity in order to really work with light and also paint in adjustments in a pretty unique and particular way. All right, well, so far I've added a few brush strokes there. Let's take a look. Here's before and then here's after. I was able to burn down some detail, and I was able to do that in some really subtle ways because I was tapping into using this Wacom tablet and into using the pressure sensitivity. So if you're not using a Wacom tablet, you definitely want to begin to consider picking one up. Now I'm aware that a lot of us don't have the budget in order to pick one up, so if you don't, just be sure to schedule it into your budget at some point, because once you start using one of these tools, you'll really never go back. Now that being said, throughout a lot of this training, I'm actually turning these icons off because I'm not assuming that you have a Wacom tablet. So a lot of my retouching here in this training title is done with the mouse. Some of it's done with the Wacom tablet. I kind of go back and forth, but I'm not taking full advantage of the pressure sensitivity, and I'm doing that just so that you can see how you can do retouching without this tool. And also, of course, if you have this tool, you can then make your retouching as you follow along look even better than what I'm doing in these movies. All right, well, in conclusion, I hope that this brief movie has been helpful as we've highlighted some of the benefits of using a Wacom tablet.